Hello and welcome to the Visible and Unstoppable podcast. I am your host, Louise Kirk, and I support women to have the confidence to be seen, sell, and succeed. And today I have a very special guest, Therese. And Therese is an intuitive business mentor, a former psychotherapist, and a marketing strategist. And she helps mission-driven women to become visible, powerful, and well paid. And importantly, without abandoning their values. Thank you for coming here.
I'm delighted to be with you, Louise. Thank you for
So,
having me.
you are most welcome. My first question is, what is an intuitive business mentor?
Right, that's wild, isn't it? So I was a psychotherapist for 20 years, and then I was as a business coach for 20 years. But along the way, I would be like, how do I know that? Wait a minute. They didn't teach me that in therapy school, right? And so what I discovered is like I have this intuition that is so it's such a gift from God. It's such a wild thing. And so what my clients would come to me and they'd say, you know what, I don't really need help with marketing because I know what I'm doing, but can you tell me, like, can you figure out, because I didn't get that last sale. What's going on? And I literally will pick up my pendulum and I'm like, oh, okay, well, hold on, you're blocked here. Or so what was strange is the market was telling me what they wanted, right? And I was really like, oh, but if I say I'm an intuitive, they're going to think I'm a lunatic and laugh me off the stage. And so I figured out when I say the word intuitive business mentor, it's like, oh, that kind of talks about it. So I literally blend strategy, energy, and psychology, and the intuition, and it's wonderfully powerful. So what I say is I work with women to grow their businesses, but I work with we start on you, and then we go from the inside out. So.
And when you started marketing yourself in more of this intuitive way, did you ever have any like fears or doubts? Because I often speak to a lot of women in that like spiritual space. And one of their biggest things, right, that holds them back from marketing themselves more is they're like, what if people think I'm like this crazy person? Like to
Oh,
talk about spirituality or intuition as opposed to, this is the science. This is the, how did you have, I mean, you're nodding, so I'm like, yeah, it was an
I
issue.
I I I so remember I came out in 2001, and back in those days, it was hardcore bro marketing. And I was in a really high-end mastermind probably 15 years ago, and I was talking about intuition and how I talk, and literally the men in the room were like, "We don't like that. Why would you say intuition?" And I'm like, "Look, you bastards." I might have said that in my head. I'm
Yeah.
like, "This is what my audience likes." And they're like, "Oh, that's terrible. It's never gonna sell." And I'm like, "Ah." And so that was very predominant at that time. So I kind of grew up like you're either hardcore in the real business world and the soft skills of like intuition, mindset, energy, all that kind of, and good God, we never said goddess or feminine that was like, but I remember Louise when because I really wrestled with this, right? I was like, okay, I know what I do as a business coach. I know all the tangible things. And what was happening is the intuitive stuff, I literally could clear somebody in 5 minutes, and I'm like, "Well, how do I charge for that?" Like, this will take me an hour, this takes 7 minutes. Ah! So I couldn't own it, and I literally was like, "They are going to laugh me off the stage. I will not have any credibility." So it took a very long time, and truthfully, it took a lot of people from the outside, people that knew me, my friends, my colleagues, and they would say, This is your lane. And yeah, this is easy. Everybody can do business coaching stuff. This is your gift from like this. And I know it's scary, but yeah, literally one of my friends said, this is where your money is. And if you don't go here, you're going to struggle." And I'm like, oh. So it just took a long time and probably years, lots of extra years. And so I just finally, it's like actually one of my friends who was a copywriter was like, you're the intuitive business mentor. And I'm like, I can't say the. She's like, oh no, you're the. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. So I really understand visibility about the challenge of stepping in and just claiming it and owning it because I've had those, we teach what we need to learn. Right. So it's been a thing. And now I'm like, I'm loud and proud and I throw my pendulum around. I kind of like dazzle people. They're like, Jesus. But it was a very long journey. So I really, if somebody can just go, I'm a that and they can own it, props to you. Cause it's hard. It is a lot harder. So
Yeah. And so how did you then, and I know you talked about like a lot of people influence from the outside being able to support you, but if you don't have a lot of influence from the outside of all of those people who can say, this is for you, because I know some of the women that I do speak to, like, as I said, their biggest fear is like, people are gonna think I'm, this
exactly.
weirdo, but that also includes people who are close by who don't quite understand their
Right, they're not
gifts, who
supporting
maybe
it, and it
aren't
is good.
spiritual,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Maybe they've been in
right.
the spiritual closet for a while, where they
Mhm.
are hiding because 'cause they're like, "Oh, well, this is not how I was brought up. This is not the norm. This is like, who am I? I'm gonna lose all these potentially lose these people
Right.
if I stand up and market myself this way." What advice would you give them?
So here's my most important advice. If it's the gift that you have, it's yours to do. So part of my, like, oh, acceptance is because in my mind, I'm like, well, I didn't go to school to learn this. It's just here. And one of my clients was like, oh, you came in with it. I'm like, oh, I did. So what I know is if you have the desire, if you have the like wild mad skills, if you have like these like these techniques or this heart to serve, it's because it's from God or it's for your mission, however you want to frame it. It's literally your work to do in the world. So therefore, if it's your work to do in the world, that means there's clients that need the work. And that means you just got to like, I say like be the lighthouse. And so sometimes good marketing, because I think I was trying to play like, I will work on your sales funnel and I'll clean your energy up too. I was trying to play so and I'm like, lead with and so what we want is good marketing will repel. And so you want somebody to go, Jesus, she's a nut job. And you're like, right, bye-bye. You don't want to keep somebody that you have to convince. I always say we don't try to save sinners, we don't run after and proselytize. So the people that aren't going to get you, let them go. And you have to like, and I just go loving, I'm like, I'm not for everybody. But the ones I'm for love the shit out of me and they get a great response. So if you're trying to play it safe, and no shame, I did it, and just like, well, I can do this and this and this and this, you dilute your message. And I know you always talk about your people like this. So you want to go, okay, who am I not for? And who am I for? And if somebody works with me, so one of the things that has helped all the clients and me is so I know what I do. And I think about if somebody doesn't get the help from me, what's it going to cost them? And what will they avoid when they do work with me? So it's literally like if I can own my value, I can understand like, wow, this gift that I have, this is what it is. As opposed to, oh, I'm an intuitive. Then nobody who cares about an intuitive. It's what can you do? Like you have to really concretize what is the gift that you're giving and how does it impact them? So what are they avoiding? What are they gaining? And so if you literally and I have so many talks on this, but I think if you're understanding like, whew, working with me, there's a tremendous benefit. Then you can kinda quiet the little silly voices in your head or the other people's voices. So
Yeah, and you nailed on
mm,
it too. It's like focusing on, well, what was my mission in the first place? Because
mm,
most women, especially spiritually, when they start out their business, they're like, I've probably gone through this experience, or I just know I have this gift and I want to help those other people. And the thing is, those people that you're going to go help, they will be drawn to your message. They will be drawn to
100%.
the
Yes.
way that you are. And the people who don't actually need your help, they're not going to be drawn to you, but you were never going to help them anyway.
That's it. So it's I think women, we wanna be everything for everybody, and we don't wanna exclude people, and that if you're everything for everybody, then you're nothing to anybody. Right? So I sometimes with my clients are like, "Ugh," I'm like, "You need to come with a warning label." And it's just kind of a like, "Oh, huh, what would my warning label be?" Because then you can say, "You know what? I'm kinda not for everybody. I'm a little woo-woo. I'm a little this. You cool with that?" So it's literally informed consent. When you walk in with me, like on my website, it says, "I'll probably love the heck out of you. And if you don't wanna feel loved, bye-bye." So what's your warning label? And then that way, it's literally a little silo. We're like, "Oh, I love that. I would love that," as opposed to, "Well, I can do you know what I mean? So write down what your warning label is, and then just kind of fun, like, "That's right, I am too much. I'm so intense. I'm kinda mouthy," or whatever it is, right? And people are like, "Oh my god," like you and I had our first connection, we were like, our warning labels are pretty similar, right, in terms of our energy and our beliefs and our boldness. And so when you can claim it, it grounds you. Oh, because there's people in the room that would love my particular brand or vibe, and the rest can, find their people. So that
Absolutely.
really
I'm gonna
helps.
think about this later. I'm gonna be like, "What's my warning
What's
label that
the
I'm
warning
sticking
label?
up?"
That's right.
Sticking it
That's right.
everywhere. So you've been obviously kicking around a while, and, which means you have so much knowledge and experience. Do you feel like what do you see has been the biggest changes around how women are running their businesses or the shifts that you've seen over the years that are now changing, especially as sometimes the advice we get is still very much the old school kind of advice as opposed to what it really is now?
So my mission is that you get to create a business that you love and you get to make money in a way that feels good. That was not being taught 20 years ago, right? So it was very formulaic. It was very, and I don't, we have to sort of narrow down a little bit what we do, but you can be multi-passionate. You can have different programs. Your list isn't so stupid that they're not going to be like, "What is she doing today?" Like, so I think the freedom to do business on your own terms, the freedom to say, cool, guru, cool, bro, marketers not having that shit, right? Because it was, here's the formula. These are the 7 steps. And if you can't follow them, Louise, because maybe your kid is sick or maybe you only want to work 20 hours, then you're just not coachable and you don't want it badly enough. It was really like, it was terrible. And so I work with like, what are your values? What do you want to create? Like what and here's the other thing, what's your capacity? Cuz not everybody's a 25-year-old dude that can work 50 hours a week, right? A lot of us are like, "Well, I got kids or health or parents or other obligations." And so how can in this capacity, how can I do that? Another thing that's so cool. I love this because it's all my background. We now understand in addition to time capacity, we understand nervous system. We understand like I went through some seasons where there was grief and my child had addiction and mental illness and he's good today, but I was like I was just and I was single mom still needing to work. And I couldn't show up like full throttle because I'm like I'm barely functioning. I have to take care of me. So I understood like when life is really lifing, you don't have the nervous system capacity to do all the stuff. So how then and it I have so many women that like, "Oh, God, thank you for like meeting me where I am. Thank you for seeing me because so many people, I feel guilty if I'm grieving. I feel guilty if I didn't hustle this week." And so to be like, "Hey, what's going on in your life? Okay, can you actually handle that? I know you want to do lunch, but how's your energy? How's your nervous system? How's your adrenals?" Right? So to me, the focus and being trauma informed is a cool thing because not everybody starts at the starting line. A lot of people have stuff they're working through. And, lucky my clients, I was a therapist, so it's like I'm like one-stop shop over here. But I think the understanding that nobody's just you just program them, plug them and go, especially for women, it's a lot. There's a lot of things we juggle. So big changes. And it's so great today. It's so much better.
I'm glad you brought that up. Although even, in the last few years, I've definitely experienced that both in containers with male coaches, but also female coaches who preach like, hey, look at me, I can do this business while I look after my kids. And then being in the container and realizing, well, they hire all these people to support them, right? And so it's not like the what they didn't build it that way. And then actually the strategy that they give you is like not someone who works part-time. Like they're like, you got to tick all these boxes every day. And you're like, that's
Right.
not feasible for someone who is doing the pickups and drop-offs. Yeah, it was very masculine, but almost this but masking, right, as I'm the one for women who want to live this life, but
Yeah.
actually we're gonna do the same strategies. And I definitely felt with me, like, it definitely impacted my mental well-being, especially
Of
of,
course.
like, questioning, right? Because you hear this very dominant view of you have to put in all the work and you have to sleep in your office and you have to sacrifice all this. And so you
Yeah.
think, "Oh, maybe it has to be that." And then someone says, "Oh, no, you can just do it the other way," you know what I mean? And you kinda get into those containers, and then you realize, well, they're doing the same thing. So you
I know.
start questioning, like, what will actually get me the
It's
results,
I
right?
know. A
And
lot of So go ahead. Go ahead. Keep
Oh,
going.
and I was gonna and as someone who has kids, it is also that, that juggle of like, well, if I put everything in, then I'm sacrificing the
Oh,
things
you
that are
can't
really
win.
important, right? You
You
can't
can't win.
win. And when you're on
Right.
this I can't win mindset of, if I invest more in my family, I'm going to lose my business. If I invest in
Mhm,
my business, I'm going to lose more in
mhm,
my family.
mhm.
That it really sets women up to fail because either way they feel like they're failing. Like there's no choice, no control. We're failing. We're just failing either way.
Yeah.
And so I love that you really supporting women and that we're seeing a bit more of this training where you're saying, okay, actually, you can have more of everything. You can live something that's
Mhm,
not
mhm,
all or nothing. But where
mhm.
also do you find that there's a line, right? Because also there's a lot of marketing out there that says you can just sleep on, lay in the pool and make money overnight doing absolutely
Right.
nothing. You just have to invest a couple of grand into my program and then it will just passively come to you, right? Or you can just sit um, in manifesting, but not obviously probably manifesting how you and I would manifest, where we're still
Right,
taking
right.
action. But you could just sit and meditate and manifest all day, and then your dream clients will fall on your lap. And so there's also this other side of marketing, right? So you either have you have to work so hard, or you basically do nothing and everything's just going to come to you if you just think about it and will it enough into existence. Where is like the line for people where they can actually still get results
I
without
love this
falling
question.
off the
I
other
love
end?
this question. Okay, here's and because I have so many people, me included, that have fallen for, and I'm gonna call it predatory marketing. I literally had a guy, it literally was like, "If you sign up, you can make 30,000 in 3 months." And I'm like, "Okay, they're lying." No, you can't. I mean, maybe if you were a millionaire and you had 17 people on your team and a 20,000 email list, but not where you are. And so I always say, when you sign up, what part of you is making that choice? And it's often the part that wants to be saved. So remember I said, when you work with me, I can tell you what you're going to avoid. You're going to avoid this stuff. You're going to avoid making decisions that are so outrageous because that's like, I just wish somebody would say, just give me the answers, give me a system. And we've all felt it and I've fallen for it. We've all done it. But I'm so careful, like, hold on, is that in alignment with your values, with your time commitments, with your life, with your capacity, right? So number one, check what you're praying for, right? As opposed to, wow, that meant to like, oh my gosh, I would love to work with Louise Artries because I love their energy. I think but you're still sovereign, right? When anybody says you have to do my formula or you suck, or like, with not, so it's a dance, Louise. It's really a dance and it's finding your vibe. So what I tell people, and I'm gonna get a little bit woo-woo, this is what we call the 3D, like the marketing rules. You got to figure out your target market, you have to get in front of them, create the credibility, what problem do you solve, like the marketing rules. And you should understand that. You gotta do marketing. And then there's energy and or the quantum. Because how many times have you literally not done the marketing and somebody's like, "Oh my god, I don't even know what it is about you, but I just have to work with you." Boom. So there is but what that means is you've also been visible. You're demonstrating authority. You're doing the work, but there's not and I pushed 16 hours and 57 emails to get that person. Look, you just see me. So it's doing the things and then having the vision and having the energy like, okay, ideal clients come my way and being a lot of his identity. Who are you being? How are you expecting these people? You see what I mean? So it's not an either or, it's you do the work and then you understand that people can be brought to you like, that is so cool. Well, thank you. All these opportunities are flowing in. Cool. And I didn't do anything. So for me, that's the energetic part, the kind of quantum where you work on that stuff. So did that answer your question? I feel like
Yes,
I just talked
it
for 9 minutes. So did I answer that? It's just a hard thing.
yes,
It's because
it is.
either one is seductive, right? And there's traps in each one. So it's finding, okay, what's your what like not everybody's like, okay, Monday mornings I make the list and I do the 50, like for some people it's like, so it's like find your thing that lights you up, that like, I'm so excited to write that email today. That I can't wait to have the interview, as opposed to shit, I gotta send an email. The energy is gonna not convert, right? So some of it is where are you coming from and what's your why as well. So yeah.
I love that too, because I definitely I've done both where I'm like, "Oh, I need to send out a newsletter. What have I done?" And then but usually then I won't. Like, I now like, before
Exactly.
I would have forced myself and I'd be like,
Yes,
"What am
that's
I
it. That's it.
what kinda, like, thing can I just put out there?" Whereas now I'm like, "No, I'm gonna wait," because when I'm more inspired or
That's it.
when I've just had a conversation with a woman or a client or something, that's when I'm more like, oh, and that's the emails that generally resonate more. And I'll get people respond going, that's me, or yes, because actually, like you said, you're kind of sat in that more of that energy of like, I actually want to give something as opposed to I feel
Exactly.
like you're taking something, like you're taking my energy by
Exactly.
me having to put this in, as opposed to me being like, I'm freely giving this. It's
So
totally true.
that's an operating system difference, right? And that's the shift that I see, like, with my clients. Basically, I tune into what they need. I give permission, right? And so it's like, okay, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you need to send an email. It's got to be done at 9 a.m. I'd like shoot that. I'm like, what? Because there's no motivation. And so that's a okay, I have to do this. This is what successful people do. Da, 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 da. And for some people that might work. That might be like, oh, that just lights me up. For some of us, it's like creativity gone. But if it's like, I'm going to wait till I'm inspired, and that says he sends less emails, but they're more impactful. And so that's that intuitive led action that's very different. So it comes from inside versus, and so that a lot of people like, so this is a discipline. I got to do that. I'm disciplined. This becomes a devotion. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I get to send, oh, I'm gifting my people. It came from me. I got inspired. It's going to be really yummy. Ah, and that's such a nicer way, and that's one of the things that's changed, and you trust that. You just trust if it comes from me, it's inspired. So, I like how you brought that up.
Thank you. And also, I love, and I just like putting out there to the women, and when you do feel inspired, put systems and batch and batch things and put in systems. So if I'm feeling really inspired, I'm like, well, I'm just going to put in like several emails and schedule them because they're still coming from the same place, right? So don't wait
Mhm.
and be like, well, maybe next week I'll also be inspired and also have the same. It's like, no, in that moment, if you've got more than one thing to say, you can just easily just schedule that thing out, like bring like
Right?
that kind of
That's
beautiful, I
perfect.
guess,
It's the
you're
blend.
into that blend of like modern day technology with your inspiration. And so then you don't have
Mhm.
to rely on feeling inspired before you show up.
Exactly. Exactly. Good.
And so you also talk a lot about supporting women to build their businesses in alignment with their values. So how would you go about building a business that's in alignment with your values?
So, there's a lot of people that's like, "Oh, you can make $100,000 a month." And some people are like, "I don't care about that. That's cool." Or I could say, "You could help 100 more people." Ooh, that's impact, right? And and also this is if you're marketing, you have to go, are they inspired by impact? Or are they inspired by income? Are they inspired? Because everybody's like, "Oh, everybody wants to make money." Do they? I don't know, you think. So you have to understand, like, what drives you. For me, not a surprise, freedom. Freedom and bold self-expression. Again, not a surprise. I think we're very similar in this regard. I want everybody to go, "Oh, you get to say whatever you want. You get to show up. You're not gonna be in a freaking box." So those are my massive values. So everything I do, and also connection, right? Connection so if you kinda go, "What are the values?" Then every program has to kind of have that all the interactions. So if I'm like this flowy little love child, you're not going to get a 37-page contract that is all analytical because you'll be like, wait, what? Who is she? That doesn't sound like Trees. So some of it is what matters to you. Right? And if you have things like, I don't know, children or elderly parents, or you have a health thing, um, if you're valuing like, God, I really want to spend time, I don't want to work 40 hours, then you have to find a way. And it's easier now because there's women who claim I only work 10 hours a week, or I only work, and they're the real ones that actually really do and don't have 13 assistants. We didn't have that. We were just made wrong. And when I was coming up, my VAs and I would literally have meetings at 11 p.m. after we put our kids to sleep. Then we'd be like, "Oh my God, we're just willing to sacrifice." We're like martyrs for the cause.
Yeah.
And so if your values are kids first, family first, then you're not gonna find a coach that's going to make you work 40 hours and make you wrong. You're not going to create programs whereby you're having to work all these hours, right? So it's like, what serves you? Your business has to serve your life and not the other way around. Gasp. Because we get into, I'm just a bitch of this business. I'm like, oh God, I gotta show up. Oh no, you're the owner. So it should be, how does the business serve my life? That makes sense?
Absolutely. And I love that too. And it is a part of firstly, like understanding yourself, understanding like, well,
Yeah.
what are your values in the first place? What's important to
Mhm,
you? And I think
mhm.
sometimes, usually when people start out their business on the very beginning of the journey, maybe they've done their certificates or they become a life coach or they're
Yeah,
becoming, a
yeah,
healer and they're like, right, I'm ready for it. And they're so excited and they're so passionate.
yeah,
And then they kind of
yeah,
enter the world of business and we're so flooded with a lot of marketing that does promote more about, you got to be at the 10K in 10 days or a millionaire or whatever it is, that it starts to transform women's idea of what they should want. They're like, well, I set out, and of course you do need money to survive, right? We need to be making money. Unless you don't, then lucky you. But, we need to be making money, but then all of a sudden it comes into, well, maybe this is what I should want. Or I don't have authority yet because I don't have a million followers or I'm not making millions of dollars. When originally when they set out, usually they're just like, I just need to cover my income. They're not
exactly.
usually the women who are like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna be a millionaire. They were
right.
just like,
They're not
literally, if
building
I can
empires. Yeah.
replace
Mhm,
my income with doing something that I love doing, then I'm happy. And it almost
mhm.
kind of all of this outside influence and pressure
Yeah,
from being submerged into, social media marketing impacts them women's ability to go, well, actually, this is what I wanted when I started out.
yeah.
And
Beautiful,
it kind of
beautiful.
pushes them in all these different
Yeah.
directions. And so how would you support those women who are like, "Oh my gosh, that's totally me." How would you support them to, I guess, like, realign back to, like, well, what is their mission in the first place? And what do they actually want outside of all these noisy voices out there?
Right. So, the thing we do is we outsource our authority, right? Like I had a client, and she was in a very envious position that her husband made a bunch of money and she was in the marketing space. She was a marketing mentor, whatever. And I finally said, do you really need to make six figures? And she's like, what? I go, I don't think you need to make six figures. She's like, I and she felt so guilty about it. And she's like, because everybody that's it's like, "Oh, I'm in the six-figure club." Like, that's the thing. If you're
Yeah.
like a piece of shit if you're not a six-figure I mean, and I
Yeah.
don't think that, but there's this like, six figures, and then multiple six figures, then seven. It's so out there and it's so egoic and so gross. And sometimes you can. And sometimes, like when my kid was sick, I was living on COVID loans because I could barely work, right? I had COVID and he had mental illness and I'm like, "Thank God the government's paying me because I lost my sick," and I'm like, "Who am I?" We're not right? Because we get addicted to the identity and the, "Oh, I'm a six-figure business coach," right? And do you really need that? Like, so think about that, number 1. So with her, I just had to say, "Is it true?" Because you're striving for this thing, you're trying to follow the game, and when she's like, "Ugh, I don't," and I'm like, "Talk about that," and she was like, but they're gonna think I'm right? They're gonna think I'm not gonna have credibility. I'm like, "Bullshit. Talk about this, because if it's alive for you, it's alive for other people." And she's just like literally did a post like, "I gotta tell you, I don't care about making six figures. I'm not shooting for making six figures. I'm shooting for working 2 days a week, helping 5 clients, and spending a bunch of time with my husband." So many women came out of the woodwork and were like, "Thank you for talking about this because I've been feeling like a freak because what's wrong with me that I should want six figures? And okay, I'll go." So the question is it the truth? Now, on one hand, maybe you do need to make the money. Maybe you're in a finance like, okay, then that's a different position than I should make the money because all the cool kids are making all the money, right? So is it true? And who would you be if you don't make the money? Are you a stinky loser or are you just still as valuable, right? So like you have to really check the mindset because I know for me it gets I was an identity of a six-figure business coach. Like I finally arrived. I was a cool kid. Um and so just is it true? That's the most important thing. Is it true? Is it true you need to make the money? And I was with a client earlier and I'm like, okay, we're working on her business. And I'm like, okay, envision like a year, 2 years. What, when this works, what do you have? She never said a word about money. not one word.
Yeah.
I'll have all this, all this, all this. I was like, "Okay, hon." And she's like, and then finally she's like, "Oh, I'll have enough to be to have everything covered." And I'm like, "Okay, you talked about impact, but I didn't hear anything about income." And so sometimes people are so like they've got kind of money issues as well. And I'm like, she's like, "Well, my wife has," and I'm like, "Okay, what if the wife drops dead?" Sorry, but you are overgiving and you're not focusing on filling your cup. You're, gonna be 60. Where's the retirement gonna happen? And so I need you to like, so we literally, I made her concretize how much, if you could make X, what would that be? And she's like, okay. And I'm like, I don't think that's enough, but but literally
Yeah.
it was not even in her mind because she's so about impact and serving and over giving. Hello, we do that. And so I would just say there's no shame in that. That's just women stuff, right? So just check yourself. Do you really need to? And or are you not even attending to it? That's the other side of the phenomenon too. So
I love that you also brought up this really kind of valuable point around identity. And a lot of us are told, and especially again, like in marketing or like you gotta, be part of that CEO identity, be part of that, like, this is, but also it's not about what do you want as your identity. It's like, this is the identity you have to have
yes,
in
this will
order
sell.
to be
Mm,
successful, right?
right.
Like,
Right.
and for a lot of women, especially starting out, and a lot of the women that I work with, they're not thinking about being CEOs. They don't even know what a CEO does.
Oh, I
They don't
hate
even
that.
really know what does that mean? Like, what job is involved? I don't know what
I know.
CEOs
I'm
really
the
do.
same way.
Like, I'm not a
Yeah.
CEO.
Like,
I
ugh,
don't spend time with CEOs, but yet there's this pressure of like, you must adopt this CEO identity. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that is. And I don't even know that I want that. But for a long time, you felt like, well, people are saying you, and I 100% believe in the identity work. I do a lot with my clients too.
mhm,
But I love the point of, well, what do you want your identity to be in 5 years' time? Who do you
mhm,
want to be? Not who
mhm,
is everyone else telling you to
mhm.
be. And maybe that
Right.
isn't around money. Maybe that is. Maybe you either
Yeah.
need the money or want it, because there's also
Yeah.
no shame
Sure.
in also wanting it.
Mhm.
But who is that you actually want to be, as opposed to who
Yeah.
everyone's telling you you have to be? Because as you said, a
I love
lot of
it.
women actually, I think, in our space, they're like, well, that's not even what I want.
Well, and it sounds so draining and so cold and gross. I would say, you have to think like a business owner because a lot of women were like, "Oh, I don't want to let that VA go because I'd hurt her feelings," right? So we still think like a girlfriend. And so because here you are doing your service, think like a business owner and then think like a leader. Think like a sovereign leader that is focusing on your life first. Because again, overgiving, I want to make sure everybody's taken care of. That's a woman thing, as opposed to what does Louise need? What kind of amount of money does Louise need? How many days off does Louise need? What does Louise's family need? That's thinking like a leader in your life and your business. So I hate the word CEO as well. I'm like, ugh. But a leader, we all need to be leaders, right? So that's a little bit of a bridge. And like, if this is a business, you're not running a nonprofit. You're not here just to, make
Yes.
all the girls happy. So those are little leaps into um, holding yourself to a higher standard, right? But in a way that your nervous system will be like, okay, I can be a better leader for me. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, 100%. And as you said, it's about being that leader for yourself, for your family,
Mhm.
for your clients in your business, and being clear about, well, who is that leader that I want to be, but also how am I going to become that leader? And having actionable steps, not just sitting there thinking about
That's
it,
right. That's right.
and holding yourself accountable. I know that one of my biggest values is that accountability and that like self
Mhm.
responsibility. And so I
Mhm.
know that when I wake up and I'm like, oh, something's not working, I'm like, well, have I actually been accountable to myself, And that's always like a slap in the face when you say it to yourself. You're like, God damn, Louise. I want to be right. I want the world to be wrong. It's really easy to say it was this person's fault. It was because of my kids. And you're like,
That's
but did you do what you say you were going to do? Did you
that's
follow
right.
through? Did you show up how you said you were going to show up next time this thing happened? Oh, you didn't? Well, you know. And so it is about, as you said, really thinking about, well, what are your values? Who do I want to be as this leader? And what actions am I willing to take uncomfortably? Because the
Mm.
more you take them, the more you get to actually become that person and not just sitting there
That's really
thinking
good.
about one day I'm just going to wake up and I'm just going
Right.
to be
No,
this woman, right?
that's right. I have 2 sentences for that. This is why I use this a lot with my clients. I'm a woman who. So I'm a woman who always keeps my word to myself. I'm a woman who holds myself with high value. I'm a woman who, like, fill in, right, 50 sentences of I'm a woman who, that's how you begin to program identity. And a way to start that is I'm no longer available for. I'm no longer available for clients that drain my energy. I'm no longer available for, people picking my brain. I'm just making this up. I'm no, because that will help you go, okay, this is what I don't want any longer. This is the drain. Oh, and that will lead you to, well, I am a woman who, you know, is very selective of who gets my time. So those beliefs also start to create the behaviors that support it. So there's a little
I love
idea.
that 2 sentences, "I'm a woman who," and "I'm no longer available for," especially that second one, because we do as women tolerate so much when we're trying to be that emotional support, that, everything support, right? Let's face
Yes,
it,
yes, yes,
where we often don't go, "I'm not available for this anymore," but then also holding that boundary, right? Not just saying it, you gotta actually
that's it,
take
that's it,
follow
and we'll be like,
through.
but it's
Yes.
worth it. I mean, you'll get that. This is again the identity. If your identity is, but, well, I'm here for everybody. Everybody can count on me. Well, then you're not here for yourself. And so there's a big shift, and women often are accused of being selfish, maybe the B word, or she's on the right, whatever. But this is the way, because otherwise we lead from depletion, right? We try to run businesses in our homes from being like, we've spilled everything out. And so I'm no longer available for it, boom, 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 allows you to, like, manage your energy and your commitments and your time. So,
Absolutely. And I think there is this almost expectation socially that women are available for everyone.
of
And so then when they say no, it's like, oh, you're being selfish. But you would never hear a man go, you never
course,
have that expectation of men,
I
right?
don't have
That
to
expectation's
explain.
not there. It's kind of like, this is the normal behavior of men, whereas
Mhm.
it's that expectation of women to be selfless. That was a social construct that we've all taken on board. And so it can be so challenging to kind of put up those boundaries and say, I'm not available for this anymore. And not just in terms of clients, but, maybe that's in your relationships or with your children. This morning, I had to tell them I am no longer tolerating this, and that's really hard because you always then jump into that second guessing, but still being
I
able to
know.
hold that firm
It is. It's the
boundary.
work. That's see, everybody's like, "Oh, I should work on my business." And I'm like, "This is working on your business." Wah,
Yeah.
wah. 'Cause everything visibility, everything starts from the inside out, right? Like, you can throw a bunch of shit out in the marketing space, but I'm like, "I don't even know who you are. Like, what are you saying? What do you" like, so when you are doing this work, it generalizes to your business. So, hint, this is working on your business. It seems
It's
it's not luxurious, it's not, like, indulgent, it's like, this is the foundational stuff because this is who you're being, and who you're being impacts everything. So, it was a mic drop moment. I hope y'all are like, "Damn." I have this, like, weird ray of light here. I'm like I'm
trying to
trying to get away
avoid.
from it, but can't get away from it.
And you're right.
I guess I'm
And it's
available for this, so
you're available. And you're right, because you can obviously build a business on burnout and on trauma and on everything. Like, people do successfully make money, but then you also want to build a business. Like, most women that I know, they wanted to build a business because they thought that's going to give them a better life,
yes,
right? You're
freedom.
doing it because you want a better life, whether that's more
Mhm.
freedom, more money, and whatever
Yeah,
freedom means to you, right? To be able to pick
right.
up your kids, or just to not have to be someone else's employee, to have that freedom to just do what you love
That's right,
doing, or if you have a
that's right.
purpose. And so if you create this business, often that is based upon, the trauma that we hold as people,
Mhm,
or a lot of
mhm.
that self-doubt, or a lot of that people pleasing and just going hard, 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 then often, like, that's what you're going to get. And at some point you'll realize this is not better than what you had. It's
Right.
just the same thing, but now you don't get sick days or holiday pay and all the
Right.
rest, right? Unless
Yeah.
you're being very smart and you save that up in your business. Ladies, do your accounting, right? Like, planning your sick days and your holiday pay. Um, but, and so I love that you're saying about, creating something that works for you. And of
Mhm,
course, there'll still be hard times in business because there's hard
mhm,
times in
mhm,
life, right? It's not
mhm.
this, I get to live in alignment with my values every day and it's so wonderful, but it's definitely having that much better way of running your business, like you said, that actually ties in with your life.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's really
So
nice. And what happens is, so I've been in business 20 plus years, and there have been many times I burned it down, right? Because for me, I started with codependency. I started with I need to be liked and loved, and will you let me help you? Because I had to get, I was getting my needs met, and I'm like, Jesus, ugh. And so if you start there, it's okay because you didn't know, right?
yeah.
We just start where we start. So please, no shame. Don't be like, oh my gosh, I screwed it up. You didn't at all. It's like, what does Maya Angelou say? When you know better, you do better. And so now there might be awareness, and you're like, huh, okay, that's interesting. What's another possibility? If I really took care of like myself and I really focused on what I like, there's truth in there. And you're like, we're like, la la la, la, I don't want to hear. Because sometimes if you hear, you're like, I had a program that I love the women. I love them so much. And it became really misaligned. Like they're not, I don't wanna work with this group anymore, and it wasn't the women, it was the level of business they were at, right?
Mm.
And I strung it out because I love them. I'm like, "I'm gonna quit," then I'm like, "Oh, I love them so much." And so but I was like, "This isn't I can't put my energy here. I don't wanna market." I like, "Ah." And I'm finally like, "I have to let it go." And so I'm like, "Okay, this has been awesome, and here's where I should be. This is where I'm moving." But I was tortured. I'm like, "Oh, but I feel bad. She did." You know what I mean? Like, so we just listen to yours because the truth was screaming at me. I didn't quit the group for a year. I kept it going for a year. When a year ago I was told cut it out. And I'm like, well. So so it's there if you ask. So if you just go truth, what needs to be let go right now? Truth. What do I really want to do instead? Truth. What would light me up? Truth. What's not serving me any longer? Just take some time, just journal, and then you'll get some clarity. Things will be shown to you. And then
Oh,
find somebody that can help you act on that, like to, step in the next phase.
I love that. And I know that you also have a wonderful free gift for our listeners. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I love the concept. I call it the inner marketing ebook, right? Like the inside out approach to growing your business. Because we all know, okay, what do you solve? Who's your avatar? Blah 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 blah. But it goes so much deeper. It's like a 20-page ebook or something, and it's lovely. It talks about your mindset, and it goes really deep on like the people you were working with, and like I'm not doing it justice. But most of us with marketing focus on the tactics. We focus, okay, I've got to send 5 emails and they've got to be this long. And these are the days to send it, as opposed to where are you coming from? Right. It talks about identity. It talks about what gets in your way of really being seen. So it really is you should be doing this before you do the tactical marketing pieces. So, it's really popular. I love this work, the inner marketing. So it's
I
just a nice
love.
ebook. Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm going to link that so everyone can grab it in the description, depending where you are watching or listening from. Thank you so much, Therese. It's always a
Like,
pleasure to speak to you, and I feel
yeah,
like we could
yeah.
literally be here for hours,
Hours.
hours and
Hours.
hours,
That's right.
correcting the world and everything wrong.
Yes. We've done that before. We have.
Oh, we have, and there'll be many more, I'm sure. So,
I
thank you
hope
so
so.
much for coming on today.
Blessings and bye now.